All right, so a quick recap of where we left off yesterday. We talked about that we're going to be graphing rational functions. We talked about these are quotients of polynomials. So there's polynomial on the top, there's polynomial on the bottom. We talked about how to find the vertical asymptotes, which is setting your denominator equal to 0. How to find the horizontal asymptotes, and that's where we determine the leading exponent in the top, the leading exponent in the bottom. So if the leading exponent in the top is greater than the leading exponent in the bottom, what's true about my horizontal asymptote? If it's greater in the top than the bottom. There's none. This is a really good sign. If the greatest exponent on the top is equal to the greatest exponent in the bottom, what's true about the horizontal asymptote? It's a leading coefficient. So leading coefficient of your numerator over leading coefficient of your denominator. And if n is less than m, what's true about your horizontal asymptote? It's y equals 0. Good. Again, vertical asymptote comes from setting the bottom to 0. If the exponent in the top is 1 more than the bottom, there's a slant. That's what we're going to talk about today. We talked about how to find the holes. The zeros, thank you. We set the numerator equal to 0. Domain, you set the denominator not equal to 0. So all that stuff we kind of put together yesterday. We're going to finish today. This one we did. So the slant asymptote occurs when the degree of the numerator is 1 more than the degree of the denominator. So in the numerator it could be 3, the denominator could be 2. Numerator could be 4, denominator could be 3. Numerator could be 1, denominator can be none. All of those would result in a slant asymptote. Thank you. If there's a slant, there cannot be a horizontal. So those two cannot both exist, okay? They can both exist with a vertical, but they cannot exist with each other. So horizontal and slant do not exist because horizontal doesn't exist if the one in the top is more. And slant only exists if the one in the top is more, specifically 1 more. The way we find the slant asymptote is take our numerator and divide it by the denominator. And then we ignore the remainder and we set the quotient part of our answer equal to y. And that will be our linear slant asymptote, y equals mx plus b. So it looks something like this. It says find the slant asymptote of the function. First of all, these will all get looped together. You'd have to be able to identify that this was a slant or it had one, and that's because the exponent in the top is 1 more than the bottom. And then we will divide. If it is x plus or minus something in the bottom, then you can use synthetic. If it's x squared or higher in the bottom, you have to use long division, okay? So with this one, this would technically be plus 0. So if I wanted to use synthetic, 0 would go on the outside. I'd list all my coefficients, 1, 6, 2. I'd bring down the 1, multiply by 0, put it in the next column, add it, multiply by 0, put it in the next column, and add it. We ignore the remainder for slant asymptote. The 6 would be the constant, the 1 would get the x, and my slant asymptote would y equals x plus 6. So it didn't say it, but let's say we were to put this stuff all together and we were to graph this. My slant asymptote would be at positive 6, or y-intercept at 6 and a slope of 1. So it would be something like this. Because my denominator has an x, I would have a vertical asymptote at x equals 0. And then I would either have a graph in these opposite corners or in these opposite corners. And the way I could have determined that is my zeros, or I could have plugged in points, my y-intercept perhaps, all depending on what I would get from the rest of that function. Those zeros are irrational, so we won't find them. But in a little bit, you'll see us put this all together. Questions so far? All right. This one says, again, find the slant asymptote of the function. This time, the exponent in the top is 1 more than the bottom, which is consistent with there being a slant. And this time, we cannot use synthetic because the denominator has an x squared. So I would have to include in here my 0x squared and my 0x. So my full numerator would be x to the third plus 0x squared plus 0x minus 1. divided by x squared plus 2x plus 2. And then I would divide. So first into first, what would I have to multiply x squared to get to x to the third? Good. And I multiply it times all three terms. So x to the third plus 2x squared plus 2x. Change your signs. These cancel. Negative 2x squared minus 2x. Bring down the minus 1. What would I have to multiply x squared by to get to negative 2x squared? Negative 2. Multiply it times all three. Negative 2x squared. Negative 4x. Negative 4. Change your signs. Now, as long as that first one cancels out, I don't even need the rest of this because that's my remainder. And my quotient is already at the top for what I need. Y equals x minus 2. Questions so far? All right. So example 8. Find all of it. Horizontal, vertical, slant, and the holes. Graph the function, and then use a graphing utility to verify. So the very first thing you do in that step process is factor. I'm going to factor the numerator, and I'd get x minus 4 and x minus 1. That takes the place of that numerator. The denominator would be x plus 2 and x minus 2. So if I wanted to rewrite it in factored form, it would look like this. I'm actually going to erase this because I need that later. Okay. Can I cancel something out from the top and the bottom? No. That would result in what if I could? A whole. Good. So right now, I go, this is my factored form. I'm going to start, it didn't ask for it actually. We're going to do domain first. Domain comes from the denominator. Can equal 0, can equal 0. X cannot equal negative 2, x cannot equal positive 2. So domain, negative infinity to negative 2, negative 2 to positive 2, 2 to positive infinity. I go to vertical asymptote next because all you have to do is change those not equal 2's to equal 2's. So x equals negative 2 and x equals positive 2. The horizontal asymptote is going to be easier to determine from the original. I don't want to have to refoil this back out. If I look at the original, what's true about the exponents? They're the same. Good, which means this is my leading coefficient. The leading coefficient in the numerator is 1. The leading coefficient in the denominator is also 1. So I have a horizontal asymptote at y equals 1. Is there a slant asymptote? No, it would have to be one more in the top than the bottom. And again, you can't have horizontal and slant. And we already said there's no holes.
One more in the coefficient or one more in the exponent?
In the exponent, yep. All right, so now if I want to find, leading coefficient in your numerator over leading coefficient in the denominator, they're both 1s. If I wanted to find the zeros, because obviously this would be harder to graph if I didn't have them, I set my numerator equal to 0. And I get 1 and 4. So now if I go to graph what I have found so far, I have a 0 at 1. I have a 0 at 4. I have a vertical asymptote at negative 2 and positive 2. And I have a horizontal asymptote at 1. Now I know for sure it has to cross in that bottom right corner because it has to go through my x-axis. So I know that curve is there. Because there are no zeros on this side, I also know it has to go above the axis there. I could confirm that by plugging in a point that is less than negative 2. So I could have plugged in negative 3 to check. But because it doesn't cross the x-axis, I know it can't be underneath. So then in the middle, typically my shapes, if they're parabola shape, the other two curves go in the opposite direction. So if I have them going diagonal like they are right now, it typically takes on a cubic function shape. But to confirm it, I can plug in another point. So if I plug in 0, let's say, because it didn't ask for y-intercept, but your test will. If I plug in 0 for x, this is 0, this is 0, this is 0, I end up with a y-intercept of 4 over negative 4, which is negative 1. Now I know I go down to that point. And then to confirm my shape, I can plug in a negative 1. Negative 1 squared minus 5 times negative 1 plus 4 over negative 1 squared minus 4. 1 plus 5 plus 4 over 1 minus 4. 10 over negative 3. And really all I need to know from this is that it's negative, which means it's underneath where I'm going, but specifically negative 3 1/3, which would be all the way down here. And then it confirms the shape is that cubic function shape. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the overall shape of it should be accurate. Questions on that one? Yeah. Done it. What happens when there's a hole? So if you want to duplicate that last slide, but change your denominator, that's what we're going to do. Okay, this says find the horizontal. Again, all the same set of instructions. So same question, but I changed the denominator. All right, so we already factored the numerator. We know what this is. It will make it a little bit easier. X minus 1, x minus 4. This time my denominator factors into x plus 4 and x minus 4. So before I cancel anything out, I would find my domain. Again, before you cancel out. So domain is the same as last time. It is that x cannot equal, oh no, it's not the same as last time. Sorry, I changed the denominator. X cannot equal 4 or negative 4. So it'd be negative infinity to negative 4, negative 4 to 4, and 4 to positive infinity. Then what happens this time when you look at your numerator and the denominator? You can cancel through a term, right? That immediately tells you that there is a hole. And the hole occurs at the x value you just crossed through. If I solve that x minus 4, my x would be 4. So the x coordinate of your hole is 4. And it just eliminated a vertical asymptote. So the only vertical asymptote left is x equals negative 4. It doesn't impact your domain because a hole still means it can't equal that. But it does impact the vertical asymptotes. Now, after you find domain and the x-coordinate of your hole, every single thing you find after that comes from the simplified version of this graph. So we are using f of x equals x minus 1 over x plus 4 to answer everything else. I'll say it again. Domain and the x-coordinate of your hole are the only two things that come from the old one. Or the original. Everything else you get from the simplified function. So if I want to find the y-coordinate of my hole, I'm plugging it into here. I'm plugging 4 in. 4 minus 1 over 4 plus 4, which is 3/8. To find my zeros, I do it from my updated function. 0 would equal 1. To find my y-intercepts, I plug 0 into my updated function, and I get negative 1/4. Well, x is 0. Y is negative 1/4. And then when I graph it, yeah.
What is the 3/8 for?
That's the y-coordinate of your hole. So I get that by plugging the x-coordinate of my hole into my updated function. So now I have a vertical asymptote at x equals negative 4. Oh, I don't know why I did horizontal. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Vertical. I have a horizontal because the exponent in the top is 1, the exponent in the bottom is also 1. So the horizontal is my leading coefficients, which would be 1. I have a 0 at 1. And I have a y-intercept at 0, negative 1/4. And I have a whole at 4, 3/8. So all of those are consistent with a curve in this bottom corner. Again, your hole has an open dot. And then because I don't cross through the x-axis again over here, I know my curve is in that top left corner. To know for sure, I could plug in -5 into my updated one. So -5 minus 1 over -5 plus 4. -6 over -1, which is a positive 6. And that's consistent with what we found. So your test will have some individual questions, just like find the slant, find the domain, find the blah, blah, blah. But then it also has 2 big step questions, and then it ends in a graph. When in doubt, plug in some points, but obviously you want to use things like your zeros and your y-intercepts and all that stuff to help you eliminate some work. Because if you have to plug in a lot of points, it's going to take forever.